So I thought I would do a quick video where I compare 6 different roasts of the same bean. I have these first 2 roasts, actually these first 3 are done on a Fresh Roast 540. This roast is done on a Whirley Pop stovetop roaster. And then these last 2 were done on a Aillio Bullet Roaster. So basically what I have here is this first one was done 130 grams with a chaff expander. So the chaff lid that sits on top, you just add a little more height to it with some mesh metal screen and you get better airflow. That was a 12.8% roast, 12.8% weight loss. These next 2 were done with stock equipment on the SR540. And I think the only difference between the 2 is just the percent weight loss. This one was 13.0%. This was 12.8%, so very similar. This is the Whirley Pop and 14.2% weight loss. And then these 2 bullet roasts were nearly identical, I think. Maybe the curve was a little bit different, but this one was a 13.6% weight loss. This one was 13.7% weight loss. And this is the bean that we all use. This is the Ethiopia organic dry process Sidama Karamo. And it does talk about lots of fruit bomb, fresh and dried fruited notes, tart berry-like acidity, accents of jasmine. Now, in terms of the evenness of the roast, you know, as I'm looking through them, it may not come across in the video, but I would say the roast with the chaff expander, fairly decent evenness, kind of normally what you'd expect in terms of expansion and how the size of it. The 2 SR540 with the all stock equipment did get a little more variation in color, even an expansion of some of the beans. The Whirley Pop looked actually pretty even. Sometimes I think that they looked a little bit smaller overall, but not really. It's pretty close. And then the bullet roasts, you know, all pretty even. Nice looking beans, nice expansion. Since they're natural process, they're all going to have some variation. So that's not really a concern. It's just if you do get really light beans in there, you can toss them. In this case, I'm just going to kind of leave in the different beans, just kind of see how it tastes overall. I did a blind cupping of the different roasts, and I will share what I tasted, but I think it's important to first state how similar all the roasts were. These beans were traded with a couple other home roasters just as a private exchange for fun, and we were all surprised at how similar they were. I've heard coffee experts and consultants say that about 80% of the overall flavor impression you get when you taste a coffee is simply based on the color of the roast, meaning how light or how dark the roasts were. So 80% is just how light or dark you take the roast. And the remaining 20%, you know, might be explained by technique, equipment, or profiles, skill. So we all roasted this bean to about the same color. They were very close, and I think the flavors were close too. I should add that the 3 of us were all experienced roasters with our specific machine, so I think that helped keep things similar. None of the roasts to me tasted, for example, baked or underdeveloped. They were all, you know, well roasted. So I think the point of this video is not about, you know, which roasting machine or technique is best. It's kind of a cliche, but it's really to say there may be a roaster that's best for you. Now, I like the Fresh Roast, but a lot of roasters don't like the small batch sizes. You're limited to maybe 4 to 8 ounces, depending on the model, per batch. The Bullet is really expensive, but you get larger batch sizes, up to 2 pounds, and a lot of control. Basically, you're using professional settings and tools, but it's in a small home roasting size machine. The Whirley Pop definitely has some limitations, but it's super inexpensive, and a lot of people enjoy being, connected to the roast. It's very hands-on, very sensory-based type roasting. So I think that's kind of the point of being a home roaster. You get to figure out which roaster, which beans, which roast level is really best for me. So in my blind cupping, here's what I wrote down, including on the side here a side note of which roaster it was. Okay, in terms of the flavors in the blind cupping, I guess to summarize, I got the most origin flavors and the most sweetness and juiciness from the fresh roast, and my favorite was ended up being E, which was the one with the expanded chaff lid. I thought the bullet roasts were kind of runners up. That was roast A and F, and they both had some nice floral notes, some tea notes, a little bit mild sweetness and mild fruitiness. And then the Whirley Pop was probably the most different than the others. A little more muted on the nose, but it had some slight floral and herbal notes. And the taste was a little more earthy and a little bit more deeper roast notes. So it's no real surprise that even though it was a blind cupping, I gravitated to the flavors that came out of the fresh roast. I've tried a lot of roasting machines and techniques, and I've always just kind of liked the taste of air roasted coffee. However, there's a lot of people that don't like the taste of air roasted coffee for whatever reason. It's too light, or it's all about the high notes. There's not enough depth or body, whatever. So that's just going to be a preference that no one can really tell you until you try it yourself. So in this case, I did like the air roasted, and I preferred the roast using the expanded chaff lid. So I encourage you to try different beans from different roasters, taste them side by side, kind of educate yourself. I have to say I've had good roasts from nearly every machine that's out there, but it does take practice. So be patient, and luckily it's a fun journey.